Ugh, this article is just pointless trash.
Blackness in video games.
I'm tired of this. I'm really tired of debunking the same garbage over and over again. Please, article, please give me something new. Please have good arguments that can convince me that we need more black people or anyone who isn't white in gaming. Please convince me that the writer isn't just another guy who suffers from insecurity and massive indoctrination from their nearby social justice studies. I just want to say thanks for my patrons and my subscribers for sustaining my sanity through all of this. Huge thanks to my new patron Akuma Tentogo. You are fantastic.
My idol as a kid was Mario from Super Mario Bros. It didn't matter that he was an Italian plumber who looked Mexican, who'd been made for American audiences by the Japanese.
Wait, Mario is made for Americans? Well, I guess 3-year-old me must have gone into the wrong forest. How dare I enjoy Mario? It's only for Americans, you filthy foreigner. Go back to playing Chonklak or something.
It didn't matter that he wasn't black. As long as I was in control and the most powerful weapon in the game, it didn't matter that I was African American either. For a small, dark-skinned boy in 90s Chicago, this one thing gave me control in a city that loved showing me how little authority I had outside of a TV screen.
I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of scary the way he wrote that he has little to no authority in the city. It's almost like that's what he's looking for all this time.
But I grew older. I noticed the absence of strong black lead characters in video games, and I kept to myself, what could I do anyway? Just like in the movies from the 60s, blacks in games would be second fiddle to whites, such as in the case of Barrett Wilson on the massively successful role-playing game Final Fantasy VII, or just absent altogether, like in most of the Ghostbusters video game ports where they completely forgot Ernie Hudson's Winston character. Mike Tyson got his own video game, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, so clearly the industry was saying that playing sports is the best way to get your Maury's face onto a gaming console.
Yeah, you noticed. I don't. I don't see myself in every fictional media that I love, or at least people who are my race, or my ethnicity, or my nationality. At best, they're enemies in the first Uncharted, or I massacre them in Just Cause 2, incidentally one of my favorite games of all time. That's right, you can have a game that massacres people in the same race and still find it satisfying, because skin color does not equal skills or personality. A white Mini Cooper is not the same as a white Lamborghini. Maybe I should feel oppressed by white people first to understand the feelings of the writer, but when I'm being oppressed by white people, why would my concerns be representations of characters in video games? Wouldn't you be more concerned with actual oppression? You know, things that are actually impactful in real life? To the site's credit, it's called Black Excellence. I can only imagine the outrage if it's the reverse, and it's dedicated in any news or articles that are related to black people. Should black people really be celebrating the fact that they're black in this current year? And the fact that they're successful? I thought they already made slavery illegal years ago. I still don't get how any of those things matter in the equation of someone's success. It's like losing constantly in a racing match and then blaming all of it to the color of your car. Maybe I don't understand the racial issues of America that much, and maybe I won't get it unless if I step one foot in there, but what I do want to understand is the racial issues in depictions of video game characters and how all of those somehow related to real life.
Of course I'm aware of race issues in America, as any black person who's ever been pulled over unjustly can help but notice, but I hate to fathom that part of the problem could die in gaming, that the lack of black figures and the treatment of black characters in games may have a direct correlation to a rise in bigotry and ignorance.
There aren't that many black people in video games, or that they're depicted horribly in video games, therefore I hate black people? Yeah, there aren't a lot of Indonesians in video games too. You can massacre them a lot in one game in fact, but there aren't many hatred towards Indonesians. There's a lot of hatred on me, but my haters don't hate me because of my skin color. It's mostly because I didn't like Rogue One or The Last Jedi, so at least they're not racist. I think you're pulling the race card because that's the one thing that you can personally comprehend, not the actual reality that is happening. Frankly, there's no use arguing with people who see everything in race, gender, ethnicity, religion, etc. It's just a way for them to simply explain something complicating in their lives. A porn star doesn't want to do porn with gay people because of health concerns and risks of STDs. That's too complicating. It must be because she has homophobia.
Research of gamers shows some interesting results. Some gamers even went so far as to say, based on how African-American game characters are portrayed on consoles, that people with my ethnic makeup deserves not only their tragic deaths in fantasies, but also their horrible treatment in life.
Wait, what? So research shows that gamers are saying black people should die in video games the same way they're killed in real life? That's pretty racist. What's your citation here?
Study Video games may reinforce racist stereotypes. White gamers who play violent video games as black characters were more likely to view blacks negatively, researchers say.
So the article claims that when you play as a black character, it may reinforce disturbing cultural stereotype among white players. Both white men and women will express more negative views of blacks, more strongly linked blacks and weapons, and acted more aggressively overall after playing the games with black avatars. Aggressively acted against who specifically? How are they linking the entirety of black people to weapons? What are your standards of them linking black people with weapons? What kind of negative views of black people that they express? Or more importantly, what type of games that they're playing? It seems like they're playing GTA San Andreas, and GTA San Andreas is also one of my favorite games of all time. Actually, they're playing Saints Row 2, which is also one of my favorite games, and you can create your own character there. There are 126 white university students, and 60% of them are men. Some are given a white avatar, the others are given black avatars. I'm not very sure what they mean as given, since you start off the game with basically a character creator. So if by given they mean tell the subject to make a black or white character, then yes, I can understand. Or maybe you load a game that has a preset black or white character in it? I don't know. Anyway, the players are then randomly assigned to do either violent or non-violent goals like break out of a prison or find a chapel somewhere in the city without harming others. Now that's very confusing because in every playthrough of the game, you're gonna end up escaping the prison anyway. That is unless you're doing different saves for every character and every test subject, or for every playthrough you get to those plastic surgery stores to modify your looks. The methodology is utterly confusing. Also, you're telling players to do non-violent acts in Saints Row 2? That's like telling a dog to stay calm when strangers come into your house. Researchers then found that the volunteers who played with the violent goal as a black character showed strong or explicit negative attitudes towards blacks compared to volunteers who pursued the violent goal with the white character. Define explicit negative attitudes towards blacks. Are they saying things along the lines of black people are gangsters, which is a stereotype for a reason? Black gangsters exist in real life. This is also really damn confusing. Those who played with the black character, for example, were more likely to agree with the statement, it's really a matter of some people not trying hard enough. If blacks would only try harder, they could be just as well off as the whites. These two things are completely unrelated. You're telling someone to play a video game and ask them to answer real-life social questions? It's like if you have someone playing Portal, then that person agree with the statement feminism is cancer, therefore Portal is misogynistic. Good God, this study is dumb. Participants who play with the black character were more likely to associate black faces displayed in the implicit association test with bad words such as terrible, horrible, or evil. I really want to know what sorts of black faces that they display in the test. What if the black faces that they display mostly come from mugshots? What if the white faces that they display are white faces of respectable citizens? What if it's the opposite? We don't know. The article doesn't specify, and so is the study that they link to. These results, which are beyond moon logic, somehow proves that the media have the power to perpetuate stereotype that blacks are violent. You know, even if that is correct, it's not very effective. I've spent hundreds of hours in Saints Row 2 and I have no idea what you're talking about, nor do I have any biases towards any sorts of people because of their race. In my opinion, the best way for people to perpetuate the stereotype that black people are violent is black people being violent. It seems like there are bits and pieces of the offer denying reality that black people not only can be violent, but they can also commit crime, which are caused by poverty, lack of father figures, so many factors. Just see Boys in the Hood if you want the nutshell version. It's happening a lot in America, in the black neighborhoods as far as I know, and from what I've seen, gangsters exist in America, and a lot of their members are black. It's real. You just need to look out in the window. It's not really a stereotype if the people who are in that stereotype still conform into that stereotype. Now, of course, not all black people are gangsters, it's just that a significant portion of them are. The overall study hinges on the implicit association test, and I cannot make sense of the connection to that test with the games that they were playing. They also don't measure the long-term effects of playing these games, so even if they instantly turn racist the moment they play Saints Row 2, I doubt that they're gonna be racist for long. Maybe for 2 minutes at best before they move on to something else. There's also no proof that the people who are being asked these opinions initially don't have racist values. I mean, the idea here is to prove that games turn people racist and bigoted, right? So where's the before-after state where you show that the subjects are initially not racist, but then they are thanks to playing video games? Overall, this study is BS, complete with questionable methodology and conclusions that can only make sense if you're overdosed in crystal meth.
I find this to be the counter to how I feel when playing certain first-person shooters, FPSs like Call of Duty, or third-person open-world action-adventure games like GTA Vice City. There are times when I'm actually happy the protagonist, who is the sheer embodiment of American white male bloodthirsty raging masculinity, isn't a person of color. The idea that someone who doesn't look like me going on sprees of simulated violence affects me less, I believe.
Oh, okay, so apparently in your mindset, white males being portrayed as bloodthirsty, raging, and violent is perfectly okay, but not black people, because it's conforming into a stereotype. Oh, no, that's just a dead stereotype. They're angels and messiahs of this world. They're going to save America from those evil white people. Dude, fat neckbeards in their mother's basement as the embodiment for gamers is a stereotype. They still exist, but not a large portion of them. This is the game developer of Cuphead, a game that sold millions of copies. This is Harada-san, the game developer of Tekken, a game that also sold millions of copies. I myself am 6 foot, pretty skinny, and brown. So it's okay for you to stereotype one group of people that you hate, but it's not okay when it's your group of people that you love. It's only okay when you do it.
It's the classic idea of, what will they think of us, that has been instilled in generations of young black and brown folks that still echoes inside me a little. When I don't have to feel guilty murdering a series of pretend people with my non-black avatar, I feel free to do things most innocent brothers are assumed to have done.
It seems to me that you feel genuine insecurity with your own skin color. I'm confused in whether or not I should call a psychiatrist or a mental institution.
The industry currently receives 3% of its workforce from African Americans, which means, according to gaming convention organizer Evelyn Wing, the industry has an even bigger problem with race than it does with gender. With less output of inviting games crafted by people of color for people of color, it limits the scope of what we feel we can achieve.
So, you're going to have a large representation of black people in gaming community and also in the gaming industry, when the black population of America is not large in the first place. Can you please, for the love of God, explain to me, how are you going to do that? Even if all black people are gamers, you still wouldn't reach the numbers if only half of white people are gamers. The only way for you to do all of that is if you kick white people out, which only makes white people hate you more and more, therefore perpetuates more and more racism. And do you seriously think that you can solve all of this through having more and more people of color in the video game industry, making games made by people of color, for people of color? How in the name of God can Mario be your childhood hero then? How can many black people participate in fighting game tournaments? Maybe it's because the games that they play do not have to adhere to their skin color and more adhering to the fact that they're fun to play. You might be able to craft a game by teams consisting of people with varying ethnic diversity, but if the game ends up being the next embodiment of ET, then what's the point? It's only going to make you look worse. So how about, instead of concerning yourself about representation of black people in video games, make people be interested in video games, develop video games, learning C# to make simple games in Unity, for example. And if you say to me that people of color cannot enter video games unless the front cover of the box art represents people who are the same skin color of them, you are completely delusional, you don't understand how video games work, and high chances are, you're definitely not a gamer.
And in a world of conventions dedicated to digital sprites and pixels, the fantasy genre of StarCraft and World of Warcraft is overwhelmingly white. Professional African-American gamer Tom Cannon says that looking into a crowd of fantasy role-playing games like Warcraft is literally like, find a black person.
Literally find the black person. Dude, if your issues with Warcraft and its demographic is struggling to find where the black guy is, you've been indoctrinated way too much by your race studies professors and you need some serious psychiatric help. Good freaking God, what is even the point of this article? We need more and more black people in video games because not having black people reinforce racist stereotypes. Yeah, your evidence for that is a horrendous study with questionable methodology and Olympic levels of logic leaps to reach a dangerously false conclusion. I am not going to accept your request because your trail of logic is reaching beyond the stars of the Andromeda Galaxy. Since you are completely indoctrinated by these dangerous beliefs, I want you to please seek psychiatric help because these ideas are dangerous and it makes black people more and more hostile to white people. It's like teaching children about the dangers of cats by telling them about how cats are signs of your death unless you kill them, except instead of being told for free, the children are stuck in student loans.